I'm Fox 26 meteorologist John Dawson. This is the tropical update that we produce every day of hurricane season just for YouTube. Glad you found us. If this is your first time here, don't forget we're back again every day of hurricane season. So check us out on the weekends. Check us out when it's quiet. Check us out when it's active. We'll let you know what is happening, and we're beginning to see more activity. So I think there's going to be a continuation of more to talk about as we sort of dive into things just a little bit. So we'll focus on the Atlantic and the National Weather Service, the National Hurricane Center's kind of update on the tropical outlook. And there is a couple tropical waves that are being watched. And we'll say the first one here is this yellow area on the right of your screen. This looks like we could see a system within this shaded area form over the next 7 days. So over the next couple of days, not looking for really anything to happen, but when we get a little further out, a 30% chance that we could see something. And then when we take it out even a little bit further, there's another spot here because of another tropical wave where we could see the development, and that right here is at 20% chance that there could be development within this area. So basically what we're talking about is a couple storm systems that will be rolling off the coast of Africa. They'll sort of hold themselves together fairly enough to where they could, again, kind of become those tropical waves, and then within these shaded areas is where we could begin to see some of that development taking place. So right now, this is a pattern that is very common for this time of the year, where we have these storm systems coming off of the coast, and then they just kind of keep happening, and the conditions allow them to become better organized. It allows them to become more intense, and then as those wind speeds pick up, along with that low pressure at the surface really taking shape, that's when they become to really take on those characteristics of being a tropical cyclone. So this is something that's very common about halfway through August, which is where we are right now. So a lot of people are sort of talking about the fact that it feels like it's been pretty quiet, but it really hasn't, statistically speaking, and we're going to take a look at that in just a few minutes. But something that has certainly been a part of the earlier parts of the season, and again, very common here for June and July, is a very active dust situation rolling off of Africa. This is a future cast, so this is sort of talking about what's it looking like over the next 24 to 48 hours. And you'll notice where we were looking for that formation, it's a little bit further to the south, or it's even in some of these gaps a little bit. So this dust will not completely stop a system from forming, but it definitely kind of tampers it a little bit and sort of slows it down somewhat overall. I do want to zip over to the Pacific real quick, where we do have a hurricane. This is Ferdinand. This is a Category 4 hurricane, as a matter of fact, and it's just updated here recently. The maximum sustained winds are going to be 130 miles an hour with the most recent update. Again, this is the 4 p.m. update from the National Hurricane Center on the Eastern Pacific. A Category 4 hurricane, continuing to keep track. It will continue to move over to the east. Current speed, move to the west. Current speed is around 8 miles an hour. So here's what I was talking about as far as statistically speaking. When you look at the activity, it's just not very active, generally speaking, across the entire Atlantic Basin until we get to mid-August. And then watch how the activity spikes and it ramps up. So we're in an El Nino year, which we would expect to sort of have smaller numbers overall. But a lot of other factors are kind of coming into play, where these outlooks that have been produced lately from those folks who specialize in those seasonal forecasts really do think that we're going to have at least some of these average numbers that we should expect as we continue to kind of wrap up the year. Hey, we're glad you found us here on YouTube. Want you to make sure you're checking back regularly to hear about the local updates. If you want to find me on social media, I'm at John Dawson Fox 26. As far as hurricane preparedness goes, which is sort of a specialty that I like to focus on, my hurricane gear tests, you can find that information on Facebook and on Instagram and YouTube as well. If you want to see my channel on YouTube, search for meteorologist John Dawson. That's the best way to find it. Hope you subscribe. Hope you get some ideas and keep your preparations ready as we're now moving into that active time of the year. Thanks for checking in with this update. We'll see you again tomorrow.